Do you like the unit study approach but need a little help with organization? 5 in a Row comes to the rescue. So what exactly is 5 in a Row? I'm Gina, a curriculum consultant at Rainbow Resource Center, here to talk to you about how this program works. The name came to fruition because in volumes 1 to 3, you read the same book for 5 days in a row and choose a wide variety of interesting activities after the story is read. The revised 5 in a Row curriculum now includes Before 5 in a Row and More Before 5 in a Row, targeting ages 2 to 5, and 8 volumes of 5 in a Row to use for ages 5 and up. There are 2 Bible supplement books to use alongside the 5 in a Row program, one for volumes 1 through 4 and one for 5 through 8. These books provide biblical lessons that go along with the stories. To make this a complete curriculum, all you need to add are phonics and math for younger kids, grammar, spelling, penmanship, and math for older kids. For preschool, you might just add some pre-math skills. Before 5 in a Row and More Before 5 in a Row include Christian content, but all other volumes are considered neutral, although you can add the Bible supplement books to incorporate biblical connections in Scripture to each story. This curriculum has a unit study approach, meaning the literature book you are reading incorporates other subject areas besides literature. This curriculum will require you, the parent, to be heavily involved as you read the stories and enjoy the activities together. It doesn't matter if you have a fluent or struggling reader. The idea is to read the stories aloud and appreciate the relational aspect of the program. All learning styles will benefit from this curriculum as it employs visual, auditory, and kinesthetic activities. If you enjoy reading together and tying other subjects into your literature with a more relaxed approach, this program just might be a good fit for your family. When using this curriculum, the guide and the literature books are your main components. You can purchase the 5 in a Row guide in a bundle with all the reading books, or buy the guide separately and go to the library to gather the reading books individually. You will also need to make copies of some activity pages from the guide if working with multiple children. A few art supplies are listed at the beginning of the guides to have on hand for the art activities. Again, just add phonics and math for younger kids and grammar, spelling, penmanship, and math for older kids. You might also choose to add some writing instruction for older students. While doing these unit studies, feel free to bring in other resources and spend more time on topics of interest. Many times, directly in the lessons, you will find suggestions to further your studies. And because there are plenty of diverse activities and assignments, the average student can learn and go into deeper learning with additional resources in areas of high interest. You may find this unit study approach looks appealing, but can this program work if you have multiple children of various ages? The wonderful thing about 5 in a Row is it was developed to be relational within your family, so you can all learn together. Volumes 1 through 3 can be used for ages 5 through 9, so that gives you a nice age range. You can even alternate between these volumes to get a good mix of books and activities. If you have a 2 or 3-year-old, they can sit in with these volumes, but they will also really enjoy their alone time with the Before 5 in a Row guides that are directed to their age level, and they only take a short time to implement. If you have older children, you can teach to the oldest child using the upper volumes and adapt the lessons for the younger children. Although again, 5 in a Row guides are so easy to follow and require very little planning, it will likely be easier to use the appropriate manuals for each age group. Let me take a moment to give you a brief description of each volume to give you a better idea of how each one is structured. Before 5 in a Row is designed for ages 2 to 4 and was created to be done 2 or 3 times a week. The goal is to have a happy introduction to books and explore different topics to lay a foundation for later grades. There's 2 parts to this guide. The first part includes a list of 24 children's classics to read, followed by activities to each story. A Bible connection to each story is also included in this volume. The second part has many ideas for you to do with your child to promote learning readiness. The back of the book has an animal classification game to teach simple classification skills. You will also find story disc and a storybook map. Each story disc represents a story you will read, and it can be placed on the storybook map throughout your reading time. For example, the corduroy story disc will go on the department store. More Before 5 in a Row is a continuation of Before 5 in a Row for ages 3 to 5. This follows a 5-day-a-week schedule. This is still low-key and is meant to be a time of sharing, hugging, reading, and just enjoying each other's company as you increase your children's awareness of the happenings around them. There are 14 books to be used with this guide. Bible verses and devotionals are at the beginning of each lesson, one for you and another for your child. The animal classification game and story disc with the storybook map are also included. 5 in a Row, Volumes 1 through 3, target ages 5 to 9. In these volumes, you read each story for 5 days, followed by an activity or activities of your choosing. As the author Jane Lambert says, you will rediscover the joy of learning, and you will build a special bond between you and your student as the two of you go on a learning adventure together. The author has tested this technique in her own teaching for many years and has found it to be quite effective. Every day, the child realizes something different about the story and begins to evaluate the story in a more critical way, thinking about the characters, the setting. Is it fiction or nonfiction? What point of view is it coming from? And many more important aspects of the literature content and illustrations. When choosing the books for this curriculum, she has pored over many titles and has picked books with rich content and beautiful artwork to appreciate and learn from. Volumes 1 through 3 do not progress in difficulty and can be used interchangeably or in any order. Again, either purchase the books or find them at the library. In the back of each guide, you will find a sample planning worksheet for one of the book titles. You will also find a blank reproducible worksheet to use with each story. These are there as a guide if you need them. There are many activities to choose from, so pick the ones that are most suited for you and your student. A teacher's notes and activity sheets are at the end of each unit. Teacher's notes allow you to record activities you completed, additional books or other resources used, and field trips or other memories. And the activity pages correlate with some of the activities. These volumes also have story discs to be used with a laminated world or US map. There is also a page of blank disc to make your own pictures. If you want greater durability after coloring the disc, put the name of the book on the back of the disc and laminate the whole sheet before you cut them apart. Volumes 4 and 5 are for upper elementary. Volume 4 targets ages 9 and 10, and Volume 5 ages 10 to 12. In both volumes, you spend 2 weeks on the books and lessons because the lessons have greater complexity and depth than the previous volumes. Volumes 4 and 5 will prepare your older children to transition to chapter book studies. Actually, in Volume 5, 2 chapter books are also included. You can still read the books in any order, though. A sample planning sheet and story disc are also in these volumes. The planning sheets are for 2 weeks each instead of 1. There are a lot of activities available, so pick the ones that are appealing to you. You will most likely want to read the book 4 or 5 days the first week and at least once or twice the following week. Volumes 4 and 5 also include the teacher's notes, pages, and activity sheets for every title. Volumes 6 and 7 are geared toward ages 10 to 12. In these volumes, you read 4 chapter books in each volume. The lessons are super flexible, meaning one family might spend 4 or 5 weeks on a book, and another might spend 8 or 9 weeks. During your reading, you might have a week with a heavy emphasis on science, and another week with a greater emphasis on fine arts. The chapter book units in volumes 5, 6, 7, and 8 contain lessons in different subject areas, including history, geography, career paths, science, writing and discussion questions, vocabulary, fine arts, and life skills. Children can read chapter books on their own, or you can read aloud. There's a teacher summary at the beginning of every chapter. Also, there's no repetitive reading with the chapter books, so each book is just read once. The sample lesson planning sheets will give you an idea of how to plan your lessons. There are no story discs for volumes 6 and 7. Volume 8 is aimed for ages 12 and up. This volume includes 3 chapter books, and 2 of those are nonfiction. The fiction chapter book unit can be more independent. Instructions on how to best use this unit are included in the guide. A research paper and service project with the final unit creates an opportunity for your student to research and work on organization skills for more long-term projects. Now is a good time to mention that the activities in the older volumes with chapter books will be a lot more detailed and will include more activity pages. There are many lessons or activities to choose from, so again, feel free to skip over lessons if you desire. However, the more lessons you do, either together or independently, the more skills your student will obtain. For example, in Volume 7, the book Skylark includes 15 chapters, and each chapter has an activity page. There's also a teacher summary of what the chapter is about and what subjects are covered. Some of the lessons include a look at drought, film photography, the author's style of writing, and other books she has written. There's also a writing and discussion question, a look at the history of family portraits, vocabulary words, and a life skill lesson about avoiding hurting others when you hurt. And all these lessons are only for Chapter 1. This gives you an idea of the difference between the younger and older volumes. Now that I've given you an overview of all the volumes, let's see what a week might look like in Volume 1. Select a book study with your student. You do not need to do the book list in order, although there are a few titles that are considered to be seasonal, like Katie and the Big Snow or Cranberry Thanksgiving. Remember, this is just one example of how you can use this curriculum. The first story in Volume 1 is The Story About Ping by Marjorie Flack. This classic story has a copyright of 1933. The first page gives you information about the story as well as a brief summary. After you sit down and read the story with your child on the first day, talk about where the story takes place. If your child doesn't remember, you can look back at the story together. The first 2 activities utilize geography and culture. Find China on the world map, and if you're using the story disc, you can go ahead and add it to the map. Children can even color the China flag provided in the guidebook activity pages. You might talk about the Yangtze River, how long and wide it is, and how alone Ping must have felt on this huge river. Discuss how some people in China live on a boat as you look at the illustrations of the wise-eyed boat. Think about what it would be like to live on a boat. Talk about how duck is a delicacy in traditional Chinese cooking, and how Ping nearly becomes a special dinner. Ask questions like, do you think people use chopsticks? Do you think they ever eat pizza or hamburgers? As you read the story on the second day, your child has learned where Ping lives and the name of the long river in China. After reading, maybe you choose to do a couple of language arts activities. Explain what a classic story is, as this story was written in 1933 and has been enjoyed for many generations. You may even mention that the time the story was written can also affect the story. You can also discuss what a fictional story is and even have your student make up their own fictional story. There is a template page for the student to use to write her own story. The third day might be an art day. After reading the story, learn about art and what medium is used in this book. Most of the illustrations look like colored pencil or crayon. Maybe your child can try using colored pencils to do an illustration. On page 9, look how Kurt Weiss, the illustrator, creates new tones in the sky. On page 32, look at the many colors Weiss uses for the background. You can look at the composition on page 9 and have your older students sketch some balanced compositions or cut out magazine pictures with balanced composition. If desired, give your student a chance to draw water. Look at pages 10 and 14. and how the author uses trailing, wavy lines to show motion. On the fourth day, find China on the map again. After reading the story, you can practice counting skills by counting all of Ping's family. Some students might make a yellow duck out of construction paper and a hand-painted Yangtze River. Then they can cut out Ping's family and glue them on the river. Little ones might use blocks or counters to count all the ducks or boats they find in the book. You might also study discernment. On pages 16 through 18, Ping learns everything that looks good isn't always necessarily good. When Ping runs away, he discovers the fear and danger he encounters are much worse than the punishment he would receive. He also learns the importance of community and family relationships. The fifth day, you can enjoy a science activity as you learn about buoyancy. Look at the illustrations on pages 16 and 17 showing a boy swimming with a barrel attached to his back. Talk about why he's wearing a barrel. The wood and air inside the barrel help the boy float like a life jacket helps a water skier. The wood and air are lighter and less dense than water. Try finding which things float in a pan of water. A cork, a penny, a grape, a paper clip, a pencil, and a golf ball are just a few examples. For this activity, there is a page in the guide you can use to record the information when you test the objects. After each story, you can use your teacher's notes page to record relevant information about the lessons you did, any other resources you used, field trips you might have taken, and a favorite quote or memory during your study. Your student can create a notebook as they complete their activities for each story. You can also find many supplemental notebooking ideas in the 5 in a Row Notebook Builder at the publisher's website for an additional fee. If you're using this with multiple children and you have read the story of Ping for 5 days, your 4 or 5-year-old might have learned where the Yangtze River is located. However, your 9-year-old might have opted to do more research and learn where the river got its name, why the river's yellow, and that the Chinese alligator can only be found in the Yangtze River. This gives you an idea of how this curriculum can be used with multiple ages. You might ask, how long does each volume take to finish? This is really a personal preference within each family. Many families use 1 volume per year and might use 5 in a Row mini units to fill in the gaps. These are digital mini unit studies you can purchase on the publisher's website. Other families go through them more quickly or use them interchangeably, especially volumes 1 to 3. Some of you might remember the older editions of 5 in a Row and Beyond 5 in a Row. The books largely remain the same, but there have been over 100 pages of added material, including the teacher's notes and activity pages. The layout is different, and there's a better overall flow with the consecutive numbers for each volume rather than 5 in a Row and Beyond 5 in a Row volumes. On occasion, you might run into a book title that is difficult to find or out of print. You can try using interlibrary loan at your local library, used book websites, or library sales. If you simply cannot find one, you may be able to watch a video of a reading online or get a digital copy. Or you can choose to skip that title since each title does not build on the previous one. I want to mention 5 in a Row recently published 2 new nature study guides that walk you through many different ways to study nature. There are journaling tips, poetry and art, weather and sky information, and much more. One guide includes fall and winter unit studies, while the other guide includes spring and summer unit studies. These do not correlate with any of the 5 in a Row volumes, but they do note some seasonal 5 in a Row titles. The main principle of 5 in a Row is to teach children to love learning. Jane Lambert's purpose and mission of creating this well-loved curriculum is to provide students with a quality educational foundation for their elementary years with inspired learning through great books. By reading together, you will also build a special bond with your children and rediscover the joy of learning in a relaxed and enjoyable environment. And the books will become your forever friends. Years ago, I used 5 in a Row Volume 1 with my children. We immensely enjoyed reading the rich literature together, discussing the stories and selecting the fun activities related to the stories. It was some of our favorite memories, and I still have the books on my shelf waiting for my grandchildren. I hope this has given you a better understanding of 5 in a Row and how to use this well-loved curriculum. If you have further questions or want to share your experience with this program, please feel free to contact us through phone, chat, or email, or drop a comment down below. We look forward to hearing from you.